Good morning. I'm going to share my seed starting mix with you today. I need to get my fall seeds started. Perhaps you do too, or maybe you're starting spring seeds. The first thing that I do when I'm making my seed starting mix is sift some sand. And this is sand that I saved from removing a brick patio to make a new planting bed. I'm using an 1/8" screen, and I just want to get out the larger pieces so that I have a nice sand. So my sand looks like this when I'm finished. After I sift my sand, I will sift some compost, and then we'll add vermiculite. So the sand is all sifted. For the next step, I'm going to sift my compost because I don't want big sticks in it. And all I do is take a coarser sifter like this, repeat the process just as I did for the sand. So I'm removing the coarser particles, and I have left a finer product like this. So once I have all of the compost sifted, then I'll show you the mix. Now we're ready to mix together equal parts of our compost, our sand, and vermiculite. Not perlite, but vermiculite. This will help hold the moisture in the soil. And these are parts by volume and not by weight. So whatever size container you're using, just use one container of each, and then we'll give it a good mixing so that all the parts get mixed together, and I'll come back and show you that. Now we have our sand, compost, and vermiculite all mixed together, and it looks like this, a nice homogeneous mix. The next step is to fill our peat pots, or whatever container you're using, as long as it has good drainage. I like the little peat pots like this. Don't believe the advertising that they dissolve in the ground. I break them apart when I plant my seedlings so that they don't wind up being root bound. I've found too many pots that didn't break down in the soil. Another thing that I add is mycorrhizaal fungi. This is important to the plant health. It has a symbiotic relationship with the roots. I'm using the Dino Myco brand I purchased off of Amazon, and the proportions are 1 teaspoon per pint of soil. My pots hold about a cup of soil, and my little bowl conveniently measures out about a cup of soil. So I'm using roughly half a teaspoon per pot and mixing it in well, filling each pot. Like so. And once I have all the pots filled, I will water this thoroughly so that the pots are saturated, and then it will be time to plant my seeds. For the last step before we plant our seeds, we need to water the pots thoroughly, get them nice and wet. We're going to wash the soil right out of the pots, so a gentle stream. Water from the top, and also leave some water in the tray. These trays are just inexpensive roaster trays from the dollar store. They make great little trays to hold your seed pots. And once you have the pots thoroughly wet, you can see the outside gets darker and looks really wet. You want your pots to all look that way. So I will soak these and leave them so that the water can soak all the way through. Leave them for several hours before you plant your seeds. That way you're sure that the soil is wet all the way through. Next we'll plant some seeds. As you can see, I've been busy planting my broccoli seeds in my peat pots where I have my mixture of 1/3 of sand, 1/3 of vermiculite, and 1/3 of compost. And I added my mycorrhizal fungi. So here are a couple of tips on planting your seeds so that you can keep track of them and also get them to the proper depth. I'm planting Waltham 29 broccoli seeds that I got from Eden Brothers. Now, when I look at my package, it says that the germination rate is 89%. So I'm going to plant more than one seed in each pot, and then when the seeds come up and the seedlings start to develop, I will snip off the weaker ones and leave one strong one. That way they don't get too crowded, and I'm not concerned later about, well, which one do I save and how do I save it. So the other thing that I do is I keep track of my planting. I wrote down that I have my broccoli, it's Waltham, 89% germination rate. I'm planting on August 2nd, and when they do germinate, I'll make note of what the germination rate was so that I know how good a process I had going and how it compares with the seed company. So if you want to keep track of how deep you're planting your seeds, one trick is to take a popsicle stick and mark it with your seed depth. So I have 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 of an inch. Broccoli seeds are supposed to be planted about 1/2 inch deep. So I'm going to take my popsicle stick and push it into the 1/2 inch mark, and then just plow a little trench like that so that I can plant my seeds. And I'll put 2 seeds in that hole and then gently cover them over and press the soil down so it's in good contact with the seeds. And then I'll pop it back in the tray. Now, I've heard people say, I don't know what I planted, I forgot, I'm not sure, what plant is this? So I like to keep track. I take popsicle sticks again and I write down what I planted and stick it in the pot. Same thing in the garden if you're trying to keep track. Make yourself little signs to tell what you planted, and then you won't be wondering. So I will have these 15 pots of broccoli coming up soon. It takes about 10 days for broccoli to germinate under good conditions. And broccoli likes soil temperature for germination of no less than 40 degrees and no more than 80 degrees. It's really, really happy when the temperature is running around 75 degrees for your soil temperature. That's not air temperature, that's soil temperature. For growing, broccoli doesn't like daytime temperatures more than about 85 degrees. If it gets above 85 degrees for your highs, your broccoli is not going to be as happy. So that's why I've waited this long to start my seeds, because I know that we're having an above average year on highs, and I don't want to take a chance on having my broccoli all ready to go and no way to plant it because it's too hot. Once I have my broccoli planted and it's ready to harvest, harvest starts, depending on the variety, in about 80 days. So in about 80 days from when I plant this, it will be ready to start harvesting. When you harvest your broccoli, the first heads that form, make sure you harvest them before the flowers start opening on it, otherwise it's not going to be very good broccoli. So cut those off at a slant so that water will run off of that stalk that's left. Cut about 6 inches of stalk with your broccoli head and leave your plant in the garden, it will produce little side heads that are delicious. Now, I want to have plenty of broccoli for eating fresh and plenty of broccoli for freezing. By planting these 15 starter pots right now and another 15 in 2 weeks, that will give me a longer harvest. It will still finish before the first frost, and it will give me plenty of broccoli for freezing. I'm also planting some tomatoes, so I have several varieties of tomatoes that I will start seeds for, and have plenty of tomatoes for my fall garden. I protect my tomatoes to prevent them from dying at the first frost. Once the first frost hits, things start to slow down, but if you can provide protection for your plants, they will keep on going, especially things like tomatoes. So I make a little greenhouse for them right over the planting beds, and I plant in the ground, so my greenhouse setup goes right over them, and they will be producing tomatoes at Christmas. And I plant a lot of tomatoes because, once again, I like to preserve them. We eat a lot of them fresh, but I like to can tomatoes and make sauces and things like that. So that's how I get my seeds started. I'm going to go on and plant my tomatoes. So happy gardening! I hope you enjoyed this video about how to make seed starter mix and get your seeds started in pots inside for your fall planting. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe to my channel and visit my blog at amazurbanhomestead.com, and also visit my Facebook page. There will be a lot more videos and many good tips on how to successfully garden in the desert Southwest. So follow me on Ama's Urban Homestead to find out how I am transforming my 1970s Phoenix property into an urban homestead with permaculture, edible landscaping, and pollinator gardens, fruit trees, vine fruits such as grapes and muscadines, and cane fruits such as blackberries. So take a look at the links at the end of this video, and happy gardening!